We are now going to move on to Robyn. Hi, Robyn, are you there?
I am. How are you today?
Hey, I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Arizona. I'm in Arizona in the US, and it is a beautiful day out here.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to hand over the reins, so to speak, to you. So thank you very much, and I know everyone's going to look forward to hearing what you've got to say.
Wonderful. And I'm really excited to get started and to kind of be here with you. I'm going to turn my video off so that I can focus on the slides that we have here. When you talk about Amazon and you're trying to identify what do I need to do in order to be competitive, and you might say, this topic is tone deaf, listing optimization, that's for times of plenty. In reality, we need to be focused even more on making sure that we're capturing and converting as much traffic as possible that's coming to our site or coming to our product detail page. So I'm going to go over some listing techniques that are good all of the time, but especially if you're trying to incrementally increase your sales, lower your PPC costs, just make sure that you're able to capture as much market share as possible. Then those are the tips I'm going to give you. You might have heard me from Best from the Nest. That's our parent company. We have an agency now where we work with private label and brands to market their products on Amazon. I've had the privilege and honor of speaking at Harvard for Women's Entrepreneurship Day. I speak regularly at PubCon. I'm a regular articles an author for Search Engine Journal. So you can look me up on there. There's some articles on listing optimization as well as some on advertising. So there's a little bit about that. We also have a Facebook group. So if you go to marketplaceblueprint.com/Facebook, we have a Facebook group where we help you specifically with listings. Because it used to be that if you build it, they will come. If this is an American movie, but the idea that if I put my listing up there, then somebody will find it and somebody will purchase that. That hasn't been true on Amazon completely for a long time. Now, yes, you do have to have your product on in order for it to take off on Amazon, but there's a lot more to it than that. As Amazon gets more sophisticated, and especially as Amazon in different international markets gets more sophisticated, we have to start thinking holistically about our products. So, one thing begets other. So, if you think about Amazon at all, you want to think about it as the most capitalistic search engine on the planet, where Google looks at time spent and dwell rate and click-through rate for optimization. Amazon really, there's a lot of components to getting to the top of a SERP or search engine result page, but a lot of it does come down to what does Amazon feel is the best opportunity for them to capture a sale. So all of this happens together. And so there's a flywheel, just like the Amazon flywheel. If you're not familiar with the Amazon flywheel, it's really crucial to understand that in order to really be able to understand how Amazon works and why it works the way that it does. So listing optimization, what that does is it provides you additional doors for people to find your product. So if you think about McDonald's, the reason that they sold so many burgers wasn't necessarily because they have the best burgers in the US, but that they have a lot of locations. And so additional keywords are additional doors for for customers to find your product. Advertising and clippable coupons, those help generate conversions. Those conversions naturally lead themselves to review. Now you can use special programs all the way through this flywheel to help you through that process. You can use things like clippable coupons, promo codes, subscribe and save, programs like early reviewer program, in Vine, depending on which marketplace you're in. But that's kind of the underlying statement. A lot of times people look at advertising as the cool way or the best way to launch their product. However, when we take on as an agency a new client that we're going to handle their advertising, we almost always are going to optimize their listing as well. And the reason for that is if you are running traffic to an unoptimized listing, there is a certain percentage of your money that you're basically lighting on fire. And with things the way they are, we need to make sure that we're stretching every dollar to get the best return possible. And listing optimization can do two things. It helps you drive sales on its own. So it helps you get those organic sales, which can release it can have an impact on your tacos, your total ACOS. And then you can amplify what you're already doing, right? So if you are doing well with advertising and maybe coupons, listing optimization is going to help you get to that next little piece, especially if you're in a competitive category. Then you really have to make sure everything is optimized. Now, we're not going to talk about title bullets very much because everybody's talked about those to death, but listing optimization has two separate purposes, and you need to balance that. A lot of listing optimization education out there right now really talks about how do you stuff it with keywords, how can I get more people in. We want to do two things. We want to make sure our listing has as many keywords that we're indexed for that help people come find our product. But once they get to our page, it's really up to our copy and images to compel that customer to make a conversion. This means answering any questions that they might have that would stop a purchase. It means making sure that you've provided all of the details, but also made it really clear why your product might be more expensive or why they should buy yours instead of your competitors. So we want to balance those two things. And so we're going to talk a little bit more than just the fundamentals, because when we think of listing optimization, we think of title, bullets, keywords, and images. Yes, that is all 100% important, and you do need to manage all of those things. But I would say that is like the 101 or the 100 level when it comes to listing optimization. There's a lot more, even within these things, that we can do in order to kind of give our listing the best shot at getting the most possible sales. Well, what we want to think of when it comes to listing optimization is bringing in highly qualified traffic. And we're always going to preference, within our agency at least, we're always going to prefer something that has high relevancy versus high volume. It can be a big mistake to say shoes has a lot of volume, so I'm going to focus on trying to rank for shoes. When really shoes is so competitive, it's going to be really difficult for you to be able to rank. And I think somebody might not realize they're not on. If you could grab that for me. Let me see here. I found them. Never mind. I got it. Thank you. Oh, so what we want to, when it comes to listing optimization, we want to make sure that we're focusing on that highly relevant traffic, and then we're converting that traffic that's brought in. Now, one of the questions that I get a lot is, should I bring this new listing to Amazon? So especially if I'm working with maybe a brick and mortar brand and they're trying to decide whether they want to bring this to Amazon, we're going to look at a couple of things. We're going to look at brand search volume. Brand search volume gives you a leg up. So if you have that because you've been in brick and mortar stores, or you have a list, or you've been in maybe subscription boxes, then that gives you a huge advantage, because branded search is much less expensive on advertising than non-branded search. So this gives you a way to kind of jump to the front of the line for a keyword that you know that you will win at and convert highly at. So then there's two other strategies. One is the out-optimized strategy. So if you are in a category with low competition, so right now maybe in the automotive category, there's a lot of listings that are just really, if not that they're not great products, but the listings don't reflect the quality of the product. And so somebody could come in there just simply by optimizing, they were able to do that. Now, we had an example of a candle company that came to us. They had a branded search, but we weren't running their advertising in the beginning. At first, they just brought us on to optimize their listings, and I want to say it was several 100% that we increased their sales in the first couple months. And the way we were able to do that was just by optimizing their listing, just making sure that people who were typing in the right keywords would be able to find their right product. And then the other thing is going to be a conversion strategy. So this is what you see more with private label folks. So this is going to be kind of buying your way to the top, either with giveaways, ads, coupons, rebates, all of that stuff. We kind of recommend doing a hybrid, that you optimize your listing, that you make sure you've got the right keywords that you're focused on in that listing. And sometimes less can be more. And then you're focusing on conversion and really monitoring not just ACoS, but your keyword ranking over time for these particular keywords that you feel are vitally important and not overly saturated. So as you're looking at, should you bring this item to the market, or will I have the chance to really make this product that I already have on the market work? Then we want to look at, does your product have the margin for additional advertising and discounts? Are you willing to buy your way to the top, even if it's a small period? And if you were to buy your way to the top, so let's say you spent $10,000 in ads, or you spent $1,000 a month on ads, would your product stick the landing? And when I say stick the landing, what I mean is, if we got you to the top, would your listing present your product in a way that would have people buy when they come to the listing? And then when they get the product would match the listing, so that would generate positive reviews. Those positive reviews, people leave those reviews, that helps you index for additional words. And then it also provides social proof. So this is really, really important. Amazon, in their learning console, if you haven't checked that out, you're really missing out. Go to the Google Amazon Learning Console. There's some advertising training in there, completely free, run by Amazon. very high quality. I really recommend it. And so they talk about retail readiness as about having 25 reviews. I think on more niche products that's not accurate. For products that are more niche, you don't need as many. Maybe you'll need 5 to 10. If you're selling cell phone cases, you probably need way more than 25. So you need to be thinking about that. The next thing you want to look at is making sure if you already have existing listings, the first place you want to go, this is one of the 2 sexiest reports on Amazon. So this report is the detailed page sales and traffic by parent. And then there's detailed sales and traffic by child. So if you have a lot of variation, so you have something in pink, blue, green, then you want to look at child. If you're looking at, you want to kind of look at the overall, or maybe you don't have a lot of child variations, then you can look at parent. What this provides is page views, sessions, and unit session percentage. So if somebody comes to your page or to your product page, they leave and come back, that is 2 page views and 1 session. So again, if they come to your page and then go to a competitor's and come back to yours, that's 2 page views and 1 session. Unit session percentage is basically your conversion percentage, how much you're converting. So if you do unit session percentage on Search Engine Journal, you can see an article that I wrote specifically on how to identify what your conversion rate is and some of the reasons why that's important. On existing listings, you want to also look at how many keywords am I currently indexed for versus my main competitors. Now, a note on indexing. When indexing, people will sometimes confuse it or blur it with keyword ranking. So index means Amazon finds that your listing is if you type in this keyword, your listing will come up in the search results somewhere. It could be you were the 5 millionth result, but you're somewhere in that search engine result page or that SERP. So indexing is on or off. You're either indexed or you're not indexed. There is no, sometimes people say, well, it helps me index higher. You can't index higher. Now you can rank higher. So when we're looking at indexing, it's on or off. If somebody types in this result, am I a result for this keyword or search term? Somewhere in the results. Keyword ranking is saying when somebody clickety ticks, they type in Buffalo Wild Chips, that means that I want to see, am I ranking 12th? Am I ranking 9th? Am I ranking 56th? And I'm going to track that ranking over time. And I'm going to look at that, not just my ACOS, but I'm looking at my ACOS plus my keyword ranking for keywords that I've agreed on with whoever's managing my PPC or as I'm running it, to make sure that we're getting the results that we want. So when we're running PPC with clients, we're going to be looking specifically at keyword rankings in addition to ACOS and TACOS, which is total ACOS. Measuring your work. So you want to make sure that as you're doing these listing optimizations, you want to measure those changes. Now, Amazon came out with an A/B testing platform recently on Amazon.com called Manage My Experiments. Unfortunately, it only measures changes in A+ content, which is not quite as helpful as some of these other tools. You can also track conversion rates. So you can look at your unit session percentage and again, that keyword ranking. And there's 2 tools that are out there to test, A/B test, and I don't know which marketplaces they work on, so you'd have to go back and look. But I'm guessing Sellerly works on multiple platforms because they're a Russian-based company. I think they're Russian. So Split.ly is a paid platform to A/B test. I know for sure works on Amazon.com. Look at other places. Seller.ly is run by the same people that run SEMrush, which is one of the most reputable research programs out there for Google research, right? So this Sellerly is currently free, so that A/B testing is available at no cost. Why not use it? It's a trustworthy company. So wanted to make sure people knew about that as well. Now, proper keyword research is really essential. We want to make sure that you're doing a reverse ASIN search. People will ask me what tools that we use. We use a combination of Merchant Words and Helium 10. And we kind of will go back and forth. Sometimes we're really heavily relying on one or the other. Both softwares are evolving at a fairly rapid rate. Merchant Words just came out with a new thing called Digital Shelf, which you should really check out if you haven't been a Merchant Words customer for a while. But Helium 10's new things that they've released in the last year have also been really, really helpful. So you're going to do a reverse ASIN search on your listing and your top 3 competitors. Then you're going to look at the packaging, your initial keywords. You're going to look at some seed keywords that you can use to get expanded results. So let's say I have an alphabet puzzle. I'm going to look at alphabet. I'm going to look at phonics. I'm going to look at preschool. I'm going to look at toddler. And then I'm going to do preschool. I'm going to put like preschool into Merchant Words or Helium 10, and that's going to expand out to preschool reading tools, preschool reading games, preschool learning games, and it's going to give me all of the expanded search terms that go with that keyword. So the difference between a keyword and a search term is a keyword is the kind of the core of what you're targeting. The search term is actually what the customer is going to type in. It's the longer phrase usually that the customer is going to type in. We're also going to copy and paste all of the comments and questions and product reviews. We're going to put them into a word cloud or use a frequency counter. And we're going to combine that with all of the research that we did here, that reverse ASIN search on our product, our main competitors that are closely related to ours. We're going to look at all of the keywords from the seed, from all of that seed keyword harvesting we're going to do, and these reviews. We're going to put them in one really long list, sometimes 15,000 words. And we're going to use a frequency counter. There is a UK site called WriteWords that we use to focus on frequency, and then that usually will take us down to a much smaller list, and then we go through and use common sense to identify which one of those keywords, and then you can put those into Scribbles or some of the other tools that Helium 10 has to help you make sure you're including each of those in your listing and making sure you're using the right synonyms and adjectives and all of that good stuff to make sure you're capturing as much search traffic as possible. And again, we want to focus on relevancy over search volume. The more specific, even if it has less search volume, it's going to bring in more relevant traffic that's going to convert better. So if you can be indexed, you know, on page 67 for shoes, nobody's going to see you. If you can be ranked on page number 1 for the same amount of ad spend for Jimmy Choo red shoe, then in your shoe is a Jimmy Choo red shoe, you're going to get much better results focusing on the lower volume, highly relevant search result. And then make sure you know your target avatar. The previous speaker spoke about this to a degree. You know, no product serves all people. And some people, I had somebody argue with me, they're like, no, there's some products that serve everybody. No. There's not everybody even uses toilet paper. Not even toilet paper is universal. There's people who do this thing called family cloth that they rewash their washcloths and all that stuff, right? So if toilet paper is not universal, your product is not universal. So if I was to ask you, what is your target avatar? That's going to be like, so you're going to want to look at what does that customer think? What are their biggest concerns? You want to be clear on the specific benefits that you provide to your target customer. Now, when I say target customer, it really is a target. We're going to narrow in on the most relevant, most likely to buy customer, but we're going to write so that we can convert people outside of that as well. We're not going to write to the exclusion, but to make sure that we're including positive results there. If you haven't taken a look at psychographics, oh my gosh, if you're a nerd and you like stuff like this, like marketing, psychographics is like the study and classification of people according to their attitudes, aspirations, and other psychological criteria, especially in market research. So psychographics look at things like personalities, lifestyle, social class, values, interests, struggles, opinions. And it integrates that into the copy of an ad copy or a sales letter. We can do the same thing with Amazon listings. Now, some of you might say, well, isn't that the same as demographics? Demographics are slightly different. Demographics look at things like age, income, religion, things that are kind of more along those lines. And if you want to know the demographics of your customer and you are brand registered, and I don't know which marketplaces have brand analytics completely rolled out, but if you have access to brand analytics, you can get to if you go into brand analytics, check in under your report, see if you have brand analytics. You have to have brand registry to be eligible. You can get in there and go into demographics. If you go in there and it doesn't populate, then set the date range to quarterly, and then it will pop up things like age, marital status, at level of education, level of income of the people who are buying your products. Super, super helpful information in there. I did a video in that listing support Facebook group at Marketplace Blueprint /Facebook that's completely free. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to opt into anything. But I did one on brand analytics that you can take a look at. Now, psychographics in comparison looks at white collar, upper middle class. You know, they go to the gym. Are they politically conservative? So if you know that, I'm going to use a US example, so forgive me, but let's say I'm selling pickup trucks in, I'm selling pickup trucks in Texas. I don't want, since that area of the US is very conservative. They're more likely to be a gun collector. They're more likely to have voted for Donald Trump, or they're more likely to have, maybe religious attitudes. Then maybe having somebody who's very liberal, who's very atheist, who's very pro-choice is not somebody I want standing next to my vehicles. So if you have to think about what is it that customer identifies as part of their life, and we want to include that in everything that we're doing. So you can find psychographics by doing focus groups. That's the traditional way to do that. But you can also do surveys, customer feedback, Facebook audience insights is another great way. Ideally, you want to do this before you create your product. You want to know who your target customer is before you actually create the product. Get feedback from them. If you are somebody who really likes personal development, reread Napoleon Hill's Napoleon says the Think and Grow Rich, and I think it's chapter 6, which is like organizing thought. He talks specifically about when you're creating a new product that you want to reach out and get other people's opinions. And I see this all the time where, they didn't think about who their end user was, and their product would have been a home run if they had made it in blue instead of green, because they didn't know that green is the color of of something that they don't want. Or I see this a lot of times. People make a product in pink thinking that that's going to be great for women. There's certain demographics of women that do not like pink. And so you need to know that before you start to develop your product. The other thing is looking at language. You want to mirror the language of the customers that are buying your product. So even if they're referring to portions of your product incorrectly, or maybe with the wrong nomenclature, you still want to mirror that language. So we can do that by looking at reviews, customer questions, customer messages. Again, you can make a word cloud of the results. We want to include those kinds of the way that they're wording, the length of their sentences. We want to mirror that into the bullets and maybe any A+ listing content that we have. Now, if you haven't read Donald Miller's Story Brand, it's a really great book. He talks about how people don't buy the best product. They buy the product that they understand the fastest. And it's about making sure that your product will kind of meet this caveman grunt. So if you have an internal and an external problem, then we would look at the external problem is I want to buy a bento box, lunchbox for my son. For those of you who don't know, it's a lunchbox for people who have too much time on their hands. And they make like little animals out of their sandwiches and, penguins out of, bananas and things like that. I wish I was that crafty. I am not. But let's say I want to buy a bento box for my son. I need it to be light and I need it to fit in his backpack. So I need it to be within this dimension. And I need it to be dishwasher safe because I'm still a working mom. And I want it to be BPA free because I care about them. Those are the external things. These are the features that I'm looking for. So when you're writing your bullets, external problems are generally going to be the features. The more compelling problem is going to be the internal problem. And that's the real underlying reason that they're looking at this external problem. So I want to make healthy lunches for my son because I'm worried he isn't eating at school, and I want to make sure he's healthy and safe, and I want to make sure my son has every possible advantage. And I just really don't have the time or energy to be cleaning these by hand. So if I'm going to do this, it needs to be dishwasher safe. And let's be honest, most of our life as human beings is centered around avoiding looking bad and trying to look good. So, for somebody looking to buy a bento box, one of the things is I want to make sure that Susie's mom stops judging me for sending my kid, my bologna sandwich in a paper bag. So these are the internal problems. These are generally going to have a higher conversion ratio than external problems. So this is a bullet that uses the internal problems. So it still includes the features, but it also focuses on the benefits. The benefit is that your kids will eat better. Remember, that was one of the internal problems. Your kids will gobble up lunch when it's their favorite food served, warmed inside an Omnibox. I just pulled this from a random listing. I did not write this, just to be clear. And there were some things, if you are Omnibox, I would love to fix a couple things on your listing for you. Omnibox has a thermos insert that lets you, so we talk about it has a thermos insert. I don't know if the capitalization was necessary, but easily pack hot food. So it tells me that feature, right? Send their favorite pasta, blah, blah, blah. Your kids will have the variety, more variety, and build healthier eating habits. So it's integrating both the internal and external copy in the products. We want to do the same thing with images. Now, this probably isn't going to land in a UK audience, but this is a football field and this is a baseball team. So you want to make sure that the images match the psychographics of your customers. So if you're selling a product to people who make over 100,000 a year, then if you're selling coffee, the kitchen should be really, really nice. If you're selling coffee to people who make 30 to 50,000 a year, then you're going to maybe use a more middle class kitchen in the background of your products. You want to make sure that people can see this product is what I need. It matches my life. I can see myself with this product. I can see this product in my life. So you want to make sure all of your customer questions and needs are answered before that they buy, that they have the size and scale that they need, materials, washability, compatibility, all of those pieces. We want to make sure that they have all of that. Now, if you're in any kind of Google circles and you talk about Google optimization at all, they talk about mobile first optimization. And mobile first optimization on Google is very difficult. So it's an entire industry. On Amazon, it's pretty easy. Really, you just have to pull up some things on your phone if you're in that marketplace and look and see how those items sing. If you look at a listing, the bullets are actually very difficult to get to if you don't know where they are. So for a new Amazon user, you have to scroll down quite a bit. It's not always predictable where they are in the page. So the title and the images might be the only thing your customer sees. So you need to make sure that your title and your bullets tell you everything, or I'm sorry, your title and your images tell you everything that your bullets do. So we recommend that you mirror those most important features and benefits in your bullets into your images, and that's going to help you quite a bit. Now, mobile first images make sure the key features and benefits are highlighted clearly, that integrates bullets, customer questions, and reviews into the images. So we want to make sure that we're answering things. So if you got a negative review because people said that your stretch pants didn't have a zipper, then you want to put that picture and then say, zipper free and put something on there. You might get mad because they didn't, like that seems like a silly thing for them to do, but somewhere along the line that got miscommunicated. And if other people see that review after they've seen that image, they're going to say, well, that was done. It's very clear in this image. So I'm not going to take that 1-star review into account into my purchase. It's going to diminish the weight psychologically of that review. And then we also want to look at proportion, size, and zoom. So if you have a shirt where if you can imagine a long sleeve shirt and one sleeve is folded over the stomach and one sleeve is out, it's going to change the height to weight length ratio, and your product is going to look really tiny in that thumbnail. So you really need to look at how your product displays in a thumbnail on mobile. If it is tiny, then you might need to look at maybe tilting something. If something's long and skinny, tilting it at an angle. Making sure that you want to also make sure that it's pinchable and zoomable. And we want to prioritize whether, if you're trying to say, well, this works better on mobile, but this works better on desktop, which do I do? Well, one, you can always test. You can A/B test using Sellerly or Splitly, or just comparing your conversion rate over time. But if one is clearer than the other, you want to base it off of psychographics. So if you know that you're marketing primarily to people who are 60 plus, who are not tech savvy, then you're going to focus on desktop. If you're focusing on people that are 18 to 30, then you're going to focus on mobile because that's the majority of where they're purchasing. And so you can also get that if you have a website, you can look at those demographics as well. So when it comes to building your listing, the order that we do it in is a lot of times people will do title, bullets, and then back-end keywords. This got cut off. I apologize. I meant to fix that. So title, you're going to put the most important, highly relevant keywords that that are mission critical to understanding your product. And anything that's mission critical, like I couldn't identify this product without this word, needs to be in the first 70 characters. The bullets are going to be where we put our next highest priority items. And then we're going to put things in the structured data, things like fabric, colors. There's a lot of structured data in the flat file, which is basically just a spreadsheet of all of the information. And I highly recommend that if you invest in one skill this year while you're, maybe in quarantine, that you really focus on building listings with flat files. It will change your world. I could not run the agency that we run without flat files. I literally don't know how we would do it. It would not be possible profitably. And then back-end keywords are going to be the last thing. Those back-end, the search terms that are the additional search terms, those are the last thing. Those are where we put words that just don't make sense to put anywhere else. They're still important. They're still relevant. They still make the cut, but we're going to only put those words in there. And if you are part of a brand registry, especially on .com, there's a place called Brand Dashboard. And on the Brand Dashboard, there's a place where you can look at it will pull up your back-end keywords, and it will tell you if any of those back-end keywords are redundant and give you the opportunity to change them to something that's not redundant. So I have again, that's in that same video that I talked about in the Facebook group. Building your listing with flat files is important because it provides a backup in case of an issue. Additional structured data opportunities and get much faster at higher SKU counts. That's that Facebook group link. And so special programs are also really your friend. So you want to find out which special programs you're available for you in that marketplace and which ones you're eligible for. These are some of our favorites. And I love clippable coupons. They're a great way to help get conversions. They cost 60 cents per conversion. You're only charged when they're redeemed. Great program. Remember, again, this flywheel, it all kind of feeds into each other. As you do your advertising, your listing optimization is not done. As you get conversions, you're going to get review, which gives you feedback to update the listing to make sure it converts better. Monitor that return rate and make sure that your return rate is and your order defect rates are low, and making sure there's no miscommunication between what people are looking at on the screen and what they receive in their box. So again, it's a never-ending story. That you want to use the data from your ads to adjust your list accordingly. Verify your customer avatar. If you think that your customer is 36 and maybe they're going to all be coming in under this certain keyword, make sure that you verify that with your advertising data. If a different word is what's bringing in the majority of your low-cost sales, then maybe you need to change a bullet. Instead of focusing on demographic A, you focus on demographic or psychographic B. And then you take that same keyword data and use it in your SEO for your own independent website. Now, feel free to reach out to me with questions. I know I talk really fast. So feel free to email me, message me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook, but my Facebook messages get really cluttered really fast. So you're really better off emailing me than Facebook messaging me. My LinkedIn's not quite as crazy. And I just appreciate you spending the time with me today, because I know that there's a lot of places you could be spending your time. And I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to share kind of some of the things that we've learned in working with sellers and resellers and brands alike. So Andy, that's it for me. That's my last slide.
Thank you very much. That's been absolutely amazing. For me, it's definitely not too fast, because that's exactly how I am. I'm like, yeah, let's just get it in. Let's get as much information out to people as possible, as far as I'm concerned. So I thought that was absolutely amazing. I love the bit about getting the toilet roll in. I thought that was brilliant. Especially it's a hot topic, so to speak. And I think we've read some of the same books. Because there was a few comments in there, some of the story brand and Think Rich, all those other things I think we've crossed over. So I thought that was fantastic. Now, a couple of questions. If anyone's got any questions, please fire them away. But I've got a couple. First one for me, same one I've asked sort of everyone else, is what's the number one thing you think people could do today that'll make a difference on their Amazon account?
So, not to be Debbie Downer, but the first thing that you should be doing right now is you should be looking at your 13-week rolling cash flow. Your business does not run without cash. So the cash is the gas, the petrol that keeps the car running, right? So without that, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter how well your advertising, your listings are doing if you do not have enough cash to get you through this. Follow me. I'm actually looking at putting out like a tutorial on how to do this, but you can just Google 13-week rolling cash flow. It sounds intimidating. It really is just a budget that's weekly instead of monthly. And the reason that's important as Amazon sellers is I might have 46 cents today and $47,000 tomorrow. So when we get that, and Profit First is also a great book that look at cash flow management. We need to make sure we're judicious with that money. And so the cash flow is the number one thing. The next thing I would look at is what can I do to move stale inventory? Is there listing optimization? Is something, maybe I just need to reprice it. Can I move to increase my liquidity currently? And then the next thing I would do is looking at what can I do to lower my TACOS, my total ACOS, and to try to increase my organic ranking. So I would say listing optimization still plays a very important role.
Perfect. Okay, amazing. Now we have got questions coming from Adrian, so thank you very much. What's the link for the redundant back-end keyword analysis tool you mentioned?
Let me I don't normally share my screen in lives because I'm always afraid that I'm going to
Yeah.
You know, something's going to happen. But if you go to, oh, you know, let's see, if you go to reports, and then it would be right here. This is an account that doesn't have it. Our agency account is the one that has it. It would be right here. And then the brand analytics would be right here. I think I have a screenshot of it. Let me see if I can find it while we're talking. But it's called the brand dashboard. It's under performance right here. And that brand dashboard is, you're going to click within it. And then if you can't find it, send me a Facebook, send me something on that Facebook group, or email me and I can send you the link.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you very much. Adrian said thank you. Yes, so thank you very much. That's perfect. Okay. Now, one thing I did like was the demographics versus the psychographics. I thought that was great. Now, obviously, we've been reading some of the same books, but I've definitely not read that book. So is there a book on that? Because I'm guessing there must be some information somewhere on that.
So I learned a lot of that at conferences. There's a couple of people who speak pretty regularly on that. Marty Weintraub, who's from Aim Clear Agency, which is a Google agency.
Yep.
Now he is, you know, he is not vanilla toast. Let me tell you that. I mean, he's a colorful personality, right? Mary Murad and Rebecca Murtaugh are all people that speak at PubCon, which is a full stack digital marketing conference that actually started in London. And that's where I got a lot of that from. But there are lots of books on psychographics available and a lot of stuff out on the web.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, look, that's been absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you giving up your time and helping to educate a huge amount of people, both here today, and I guess that when we'll redistribute this as well. So thank you very much. It's been absolutely amazing. I really appreciate your time. So
I appreciate it.
Now, you've obviously given us your information where people can get in contact with you. So please go and follow and comment on Robyn's stuff as well, and find out a bit more information.
Can I give a free thing away? And if not, that's totally okay.
Well, of course you can, please. Yeah.
So I have a listing optimization checklist. And I know things are a little crazy right now. So if you want me to take a very quick look and a very quick video at your listing, like we're not talking 20 minutes, we're talking like a 3-minute video. At the bottom of this page, there's an opt-in. And what you can do is you fill that out, and then I will make a quick video looking at one ASIN and give you my feedback on it. So if you go to marketplaceblueprint.com/7, all spelled out, so SEVEN, then you can get the product checklist. There's a video that I did on kind of optimization theory that's a little bit more in depth. And then there's also that opt-in for that as well. So feel free to do that. And if there's anything I can do to support you, please let me know. I sometimes my email gets backed up. So if I don't answer, you just keep trying. I just probably got busy.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's amazing. So please take advantage of that. That's absolutely amazing. I think that's a great opportunity for people to be able to get some analysis and some feedback. So thank you very much.